I just lifted up the fountain. I just lifted up the fountain to empty out the water and put in some fresh water, and underneath is this creature. And this is an interesting creature because it illustrates how our world is changing and how Ireland is changing. These began showing up in the late 1990s and during the Celtic Tiger, the early stages of it. And it's called Australoplanus, and it's the Australian flatworm. They hunt earthworms, and the first time I ever saw one, it was attacking an earthworm. They can attack much bigger earthworms. This worm is not very big. I'll just put my finger in so you can see they can be bigger than this. There is a New Zealand flatworm which is much bigger, but it tends to be found further north. But this one prefers our warmer climates, but I think it came out of the Blue Mountains in Australia. They're not sure, but in Australia, see, it's like a ribbon. It's heading for the darkness, it doesn't like the sunlight. In Australia, almost nothing was known about them. They didn't really even know they existed. And very little is known about them, their behaviour. But they've come over to Ireland and and the UK, the island of Great Britain, and they feed on earthworms. So almost everything that's known about these worms is known from their behaviour in Europe. You can see it's heading into the shade because it doesn't like that sunlight, because the sunlight would dry it out quite quickly. This just goes to show you creatures are moving around the world brought by us. They believe these came in plant soil or in maybe as eggs in plant roots. They're not sure how they got here, but they think it was during the mass landscaping event that took place during the Celtic Tiger with all the building of houses and housing estates. So you get a really good idea. The whole body is a giant light sensor, but they're able to hunt earthworms. They don't burrow very deep, they just go under the surface of the soil, but that allows them to pursue earthworms. I'm going to restore this. These creatures are here to stay, there's no getting rid of them. They're actually nearly indestructible. The only thing they don't like, it's been discovered, is water over 7 degrees in temperature. They hate that. Kills them. They've been starved for over a year and they don't die. They're really incredibly tough, but they'll have to just become part of our environment because there's too many of them. They're everywhere. But if you see this bright orange one, there's also a whitish coloured one, the alba form, and you can see, so that's the Australian flatworm. There's my finger for comparison. And we do have natural flatworms in Ireland that live on land. They're not very common, they're smaller than this. But if you ever find one of these, you know what it is. And there are other creatures I'd like to show you which have arrived in Ireland, and we don't know how they got here, but they arrived during the Celtic Tiger, during the economic boom. It seems to have been landscaping again. Sometimes, as in the case of the false widow spider, or the false widow spiders, we don't actually know where their original homeland is. It's still debated. But at least we do know where these Australian flatworms come from.